Good evening, everyone. I'm Riley King, and welcome to the Riley King Newscast, right here on the Riley King Network. Let's begin. We have a lot of news this evening, so let's get started. First up, we begin with breaking news. Several buildings in Ossipee on fire after possible gas explosion. Several buildings were on fire in Ossipee neighborhood Friday after a possible gas explosion. Ossipee fire officials said they were called to Puritan Lane just after 2 p.m. Fire departments across the area were responding to the area. There was no word of any injuries. This is breaking news story. We will keep you updated as we get more information into our newsroom. Hours long standoff in Nashua ends with man shot, wounded, police say. Neighbors say police told them to take precaution. Let's take a listen to that video from WMUR News 9, Ray Brewer.
Pushed out the door when it matters most. For more than a decade, he's been right there, everywhere. And when American jobs are on the line, he leads the charge. ABC's World News Tonight with David Muir is America's most watched newscast, and we thank you.
The standoff began Thursday night, according to Nashua Police, when officers responded to 21 Hunt Street for a criminal threatening complaint. But the man barricaded himself in his home. As the hours passed, the SWAT team was also called in. Ishmael Munoz lives 2 doors down.
They tried to call his name to come out, telling him that they just want to talk. They was trying to keep the whole thing safe. He wouldn't come out. He refused to come out.
Around 1 o'clock in the morning, Munoz says police told him to evacuate his home. Munoz says he never heard his neighbor respond to police, but he could tell that the man heard police.
They asked him to turn the lights on to make sure he can hear them. He did turn the lights on, but he wouldn't come out of the house.
It was kind of really terrifying, I'm not going to lie.
Michael Correa lives across the street. While he didn't have to evacuate, he said police did tell them to take some precautions.
They knocked on the glass, or get into the basement, make sure that your family's down there and stay down there.
During the standoff, the suspect was shot, but it's not clear exactly when that happened. Police also fired pepper spray into the home. Correa says eventually he saw the suspect walk out of the house.
I saw him coming out. He had a blanket on, and he was kind of like this. And when he was down on the ground, he was kind of curled up in a ball.
Correa says police did treat the suspect at the scene before placing him in an ambulance. As you take a live look at the scene once again, now there's no update on the suspect's condition. The AG's office says that no one else was injured. Reporting live in Nashua, Ray Brewer, WMUR News.
Okay, and there you go on that video and that report. De Blasio drops out of 2020 presidential race. New York City Mayor Bill de Blasio has ended his campaign for the 2020 Democratic presidential nomination. De Blasio struggled to gain traction in a sprawling field of Democrats seeking the presidency. He announced his decision in an MSNBC interview on Friday. And now let's take a look at your U.S. stock market and see how your U.S. stock market closed for this Friday evening. And here's a look at that U.S. stock market for all of you for this Friday evening. Your Dow Jones Industrial Average closed in the red and went down. Your Nasdaq closed in the red and went down. S&P 500 closed in the red and went down. Gold closed in the green and went up. Oil closed in the red and went down. US 10-year closed in the red and went down. Euro/USD closed in the red and went down. And VIX closed in the green and went up. Dow falls for second day, drops more than 100 points after China officials cut U.S. visit short. Stocks fell on news that Chinese officials were cutting short their visit to the U.S., damping hope around trade negotiations between the two countries. Thousands of young activists to march in global climate strike. Let's take a listen to the video from ABC News.
Now to the global protest that is underway right now. Students and workers all around the world are flooding the streets demanding action on climate change. Maggie Rulli is at a demonstration in London with the latest.
Michael, we're here with thousands of protesters right underneath Parliament. And what's so striking, besides just the sheer size of protesters here, are the age of people who are demonstrating. Almost all of them are students. This group behind me, just 9 years old. We spoke to a group of 17-year-olds who said they're here today to fight for their future. Now, the goal of this strike, and really all these strikes around the world, is to send a clear message to world leaders ahead of the UN Climate Summit happening this week in New York. And one of their many demands is to say they want to phase out all fossil fuels by 2030 and replace them with renewable energy. Now, another name that we've been hearing time and time again here in London this afternoon is they're talking about Greta Thunberg, that famous Swedish activist at just 16 years old has already become the face of this movement. She famously stepped out of class last year in Sweden for the first kind of solo climate strike, and now look at what her movement has become. We don't know exact numbers yet, guys, but it's looking like this could be the largest climate protest in our planet's history. Tom?
All right, Maggie Rulli for us. Maggie, thank you for that.
Okay, and there you go on that video and that report. And that does it for this Friday evening edition of the Riley King Newscast right here on the Riley King Network. I hope you all have a great rest of your Friday evening, and I'll see you back here tomorrow for another newscast. And I'll have a news report coming up in a little bit. Good night and bye.